And what about the public sector union's posture at this point, specifically AFSCME, because the largest state workers union, AFSCME, representing about 37,000 state workers, has suggested that they're prepared to strike if they can't reach a deal with Governor Rauner. And where Governor Rauner has negotiated 18 collective bargaining agreements with smaller public sector units, unions representing a smaller group of public sector workers, which included a wage freeze. Every single one of them had a wage freeze. AFSCME is demanding, at least at last time I checked, a 29% salary increase over the 4-year life of the contract. Depending on, again, whose numbers you want to believe, we're talking about a $1.5 to $3 billion contract AFSCME has proposed that the state can't finance. The state has almost $10 billion in unpaid bills, so just kind of more promises we can't finance, as we were talking about. So what about AFSCME's posture? Is that unreasonable if they would strike? Is it unreasonable if they wouldn't do what the other unions have done and take up wage freeze?
Yeah, I don't anticipate a strike. I think that it's probably a posturing rhetoric in terms of the collective bargaining process. I think from what I hear in those contract talks, if the union believed that the governor was going to have some serious negotiation rather than kind of use them as the piñata for a lot of his different ideas, they might have different terms. But so far, that's not been the case.
Okay, but has AFSCME and SEIU and the teachers' unions, have they earned their piñata status? In other words, state government at present, I would argue, is largely set up to finance the salaries and benefits of these state employees and demands, like I just suggested. Now I give credit to the unions that said, we'll take a wage freeze. We have some understanding of where the state's at.
Most of them are better compensated than the rank and file AFSCME employees, just for the record.
But most rank and file AFSCME employees are much better compensated than their private sector counterparts in the similar job classifications. So, and by the way, those private sector counterparts don't have anything approaching the health insurance and pension benefits that state workers have. So again, is AFSCME being unreasonable by saying 29% over 4 years? If you try to do what you did with these other unions, then we're going to strike.
Again, I think that is largely rhetoric of a collective bargaining process. And if there was a serious contract negotiation entered into by the administration, I think you'd see more reasonable proposals.
Should they take a wage freeze?
That's in the eye of the beholder. The legislature doesn't get involved in negotiating those salaries.
Well, you tried to.
We tried to have some oversight, because usually what happens is whoever is the governor negotiates a contract and sends the legislature the bill. And so part of the reason why we got to where we are today in terms of the payroll, the size of the workforce, how many people do what kind of jobs, is because the legislature wasn't involved in really much of that at all. So should they take you would think a wage freeze would be a reasonable idea, and I would assume that could be matched up with some other benefit issues that might make the unions a little more comfortable. But right now there is a pretty heated relationship going on there, and I think you understand it. And I think that's part of the Rauner approach to prosperity. Let's pound public employees.
Well,